So I'm going to be bold here, and I know that this doesn't include everybody because I think that there's wonderful people in the profession, but I think the longer I've been in the profession, the more I realize that economists, sort of neoclassical economists, they have it wrong. I think the idea that we have to strategize, and this is like pervasive in the strategy literature, that we have to strategize as you think about it, that we need to have scarce resources, or we have scarce resources, and we have to push and shove our way to the top. And the only thing that matters is the objective that you're trying to pursue. And the only thing is to achieve that objective. That's literally that's so the I don't think that they intentionally mean to do this, but it's just like it's such a simplified model of human reality that there is basically this sort of utility function, and you pursue to achieve that utility function, and then that's the only thing that matters. And you know, I had this conversation once years ago in my microeconomics class, and I was like, well, couldn't you, let's talk about, this was before I was sort of discovering what I was interested in. And I went up to him and I was like, well, can we put in sustainability into this? And he's just like, well, that's easy. You just push it in. That's not really a big thing. And he was very dismissive of it. And I look back and I think about that. I was like, that is the point, right? Like, we are not doing that. We are not including the sort of wider, many different objectives. That's not what the general story is. The general story is that you push and shove your way to the top, and the only thing that matters is getting to the top, achieving that objective. And so this is pervasive. This strategizing logic is pervasive in business schools. It's pervasive in society today. It's pervasive in many different areas. And the only areas that it's not pervasive, or that we consider as is um, less pervasive, right? That generally are the things that there's no financial return or very little financial return, right? Like giving back in various different parts of society. Um, the idea that there is parenting, right? Parenting is there's no, you don't get paid for parenting. Um, the idea of being nice to other people, being civil, just taking a pause, listening to other people. None of that stuff gets paid for. Um, all of these things, right, according to the objective of the utility function, um, are worthless, and you should not pursue those things. You should not smile. There is no reason for you to smile because if you think about it, it's entirely resource consuming. There is no benefit to smiling other than making somebody else feel good. And it's not making you feel good. I mean, it is indirectly, I guess, but that's a hard thing to sort of think about. And the longer I've been in this profession, the more I realize it is that model is wrong. It's just wrong. And then there is this idea, um, where, and it's like for economists, this was a big puzzle. Like, why would you give things free on the internet, right? Like, this was a big discussion for a long time. Um, and I think ultimately it wasn't resolved. It was just like people gave up having this conversation. They were just like, well, that's what people do. Um, and, if you look at it, what we do today, you do that, right? Like you just, there's so many people that just give things free because it's fun, it's interesting, and it's still, I guess, like a puzzle. Um, and I think it's like easily resolved. There's actually another alternative, and I can't remember the guy's name. I always forget blank. It always blanks my name. And his alternative economist that really didn't get a lot of play, a little bit of play. He's basically looking at the economics of abundance and the idea that things build on top of each other, and as you do more of something, the more abundant it becomes, and the more opportunities that you actually get. And it's not a scarce resource problem. It's actually, um, choose your path problem, right? Like there is just a lot that goes on, and as you choose your path, there's more opportunities that unfold in front of you. And I think about this, and I think about like this sort of classical scarce resource, one objective model, how pervasive it actually is, and how it creates poor behaviors. Um, and I think it's been around for a long time, right? Like this is part of Dante, or not Dante. Yeah, Dante wrote about like, or Machiavellianism, right? Like wrote about this many years ago. You sort of push your way to the top without questioning the logic of that. And yes, a lot of people do that stuff, and maybe the ones that do that strategizing do raise to the top, or rise to the top. It is that the society, is that the world that we want to live in, where that is the objective, right? Like backstabbing and doing really not great behaviors, is that really the objective? And I would say so. Yeah, I do strongly believe that people that do that stuff actually do get ahead in one particular domain. But are they doing okay? Is that something that we want to reward? Um, you know, and if you took it to the extreme, let's hypothesize that this behavior creates the most economic value. And, the sort of Milton Friedman story where, essentially business, the only thing they should be focused on is doing profit, or the only thing you should be focused on is just getting ahead. Um, does that create the most economic value? I would argue that, yeah, it could, right? And maybe it does, but is that the world you want to live in? Is that what we want to reward? Is that, the hard choices where we think about what is it that we actually want? And this is like old philosophy, right? Like a thinking from many years ago. But I think these questions of justice, these questions of what it means to do good, what it means to look out for other people, right? There are a ton of people that will serve no economic value, um, and it's no fault of their own. They were born that way. Um, and that's a crude way to put it, right? But this is the sort of logic of it, right? Um, and do we want to go down that path again? And I would argue no. I do not want to go into that world again. I think that world is it's an awful slippery slope that makes me feel uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Um, and that logic just does not work. If we want economic prosperity, if we want a society where people feel free to be able to do things, we need to think about the people that failed. We need to think about people that society would cast away, right? Like I think religious beliefs, right, that have been passed on for many different religions. And essentially, that's the story of religion, right? Is look after for other people and do things that are nice. I think that there is a reason for that. Um, that those ideologies are extremely important in society. Um, and if we focus on just getting ahead and profiting and capturing the other city, as one would do, 5,000 years ago and just capturing the other city to get ahead, I think society would fall apart very quickly. So I think we need to stop thinking about strategizing and thinking about how we could just do good, how we can be kind, how we can reach out to other people, how we can, if you see somebody that's downtrodden, um, say, hey, how you doing? Um, give somebody a smile. When you're out and about, do those little tiny things. I think that's it. I, I think that's it. Um, you're not going to be ahead. It's not going to be your thing. You're not going to be number one. Oh, well, you're going to do okay. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.